This is the Bush Whisperer coming at you from the most beautiful penguin sanctuary, southern tip of Africa. Simonstown, Cape Town, Waters Edge Beach, right next to boulders. I'm standing here watching the sun. It's coming out from behind clouds and the gold is reflecting off the water. It's truly magnificent. The sun is like an amber orb. It's the first I've been able to really watch the sun. Been waiting for him, for the spirit of the life force to be able to perceive directly. Faith. Come to talk to you about faith today. What is faith? What is our understanding of faith? Unfortunately, we've all been indoctrinated by what the Romans thought we should believe about faith, according to their book. And so people believe that faith is blind. And people believe that faith is just believing blindly and accepting. Nothing could be further from the truth. Faith is something far more profound. Faith founds the basis of belief true. But faith is not belief. We want to consider faith as a tree. One would have to say that faith is the tree of life that is being, the roots of which are deeply embedded upon the understanding of the wisdom of being. What does this mean? The understanding of the wisdom of being. We need to look at the word faith. We need to understand how the language has been corrupted, how the spelling of words have been changed from the various journeys from the modern English to the more modern English, to the more modern English to what we've got today. And before this, from the Middle English to the second phase of Middle English to the older forms of modern English, and before this, from the older forms of English to the middle forms of English. There's been a steady procuration of meaning that has been lost. And we've found ourselves in this world where the words and the numbers do not match anymore. When we take away all these layers of superstition and assumption, we come across two ideas which are combined in the principle of faith. The mathematical notation of phi, and the notation aspect of f, which is at, become in English. At is, it's about location, it's about where you are. It's about the subtotal experience of reality, the beginning and the ending. And phi is that ratio, that golden mathematical ratio that many of the great scientists have been completely confounded by, because they find it everywhere. They find it in the cellular tissues being expressed, in the way in which cells grow. They find it in the way leaves are aligned on a tree. They find it in the way that crystals form. They find it expressed in the magnetic forces. Whenever we calculate anything on a greater macrocosmic scale, it's present. The way we can understand galaxies and astronomical phenomenon, this phi is expressed. It's also there within the way in which the mathematical geometric shapes are expressing the relationship. It seems to be fundamental to all things that we can understand. Do smash the like button and share this video if you think it's useful, if you're enjoying it, and if you want to help this channel grow organically. The idea of phi is so universal. It is the basis of what we can consider the model of scale, if I can put it in such terms. All things are a fractal of other things, and the fractals are an expansion of the model of the fractal reality, and the golden ratio of phi is the way in which this fractal model is a mathematical expansion, a progression, shall we say. Even time falls into the laws of phi. We can use phi and pi in order to look at the patterns of being. History seems to conform to these patterns even. All things conform to these patterns. And they're an overlay. And so we can understand that we've lost some fairly fundamental knowledge in regards to phi. The ancient Greeks had quite a lot to say about it that we don't seem to be talking about these days. Not typically, not normally. Eth is two hieroglyphs, which means the beginning and the ending. The great spirit, the breath, which is related to the beginnings of the life force, the way in which life force is becoming manifest into Ta, which is the cross, essentially. And the way in which life force is expressing the principles of the cross can be considered as Eth. Aleph, Tav, even in Hebrew to this day, which has become an expression of the old Chaldean concepts, which date right back to Phoenicia. In the Paleo-Hebrew script and the Aramic, you can see it expressed in the Greek. You can see it expressed throughout many of our forms of our language as it's progressed to the point of what we know as today. Also consider that all of these Indo-European languages are 80% Sanskrit. So there's something to be considered and understood here about the nature of this language that we use today. There's an old story about the Tower of Babel. It's quite suggestive of understanding what we're talking about here, if one just applies one's own intelligence. So faith, what is faith? Faith is when one has an understanding of this mathematical ratio, when one understands that life moves in patterns, when one understands that the patterns of life are recurring, and that there is a law that is being expressed here in the physical plane, and that these laws and this pattern of being is being expressed as a reflection between the energetic reality and the physical reality as we know it, and that it is what connects the energetic reality to the physical reality. It's so beautiful. You can see the rays shining down from the sun. You won't be able to get a decent picture in the camera, but it's really worth watching. You should go out and watch your dawns and your sunrises. It's something to behold. And this understanding of the way in which the time and the space are becoming a reflection of the energy that is manifesting form is the basis of faith. And so we've heard it said that faith can move mountains. When one understands that the entire physical manifestation, understands by the way, is a reflection of energy, and that energy is a reflection that we see of the consciousness field, that all things come from mind, that mind expresses the energy that becomes form, or thought expresses the energy that becomes form. And when one has the experiential wisdom of this, and one has experienced it and understood it, and the harmony between experience and wisdom is true knowledge, that true knowledge becomes a great power. And that great power of true knowledge is the essential body of faith. And faith is when one has the ability and the affinity to be able to move the ratio and the relationship in accordance with the divine law that one has understood, and that the wisdom has been able to guide one along the path of realizing that one is then able to manifest great works on this physical plane, and that the moving of mountains is possible at the whim of a thought. This is faith. It's a different way of understanding faith, is it not? The ideas of blind belief and just being told that that's what it is and accepting. Acceptance is a big part of faith, yes. For one has to accept these fundamental principles, but one cannot accept these fundamental principles until one has understood and has the wisdom of experience to be able to put it into perspective, so that the understanding can become nurtured, or shall we say impregnated, by the wisdom of experience. And when this happens, we have a fundamental and important shift within the consciousness field, and thus are the spiritual powers revealed to one. The spiritual powers are essentially what we are talking about when we talk about faith. The ability to access them directly through the intuitive field of consciousness. For consciousness is the manifesting principle that is bringing all that we can see, know, understand, consider, and experience into being. I hope this has been useful for you. Do subscribe to my channel, that way you'll get daily uploads and an insight into how this course is manifesting. There's season 1 and season 2. Best to follow it consequentially, trying to stay out of the sea because it's creeping closer without getting my shoes wet. I am wearing shoes this morning because it's quite cold. It's not good to drain your kidneys, so one has to be balanced and conscious. I will have my barefoot time a little bit later. But faith is the fundamental principle that all the siddhi can work through, as they are known in India, and miracles are the substance that is produced by the waters of faith when it is allowed to nurture the force of life within one's consciousness field and express it. This is the Bush Whisperer, sharing a few words with you. I pray you have an absolutely gorgeous day, that you find joy, harmony, and peace expressed through this day, and that your life becomes more meaningful with every passing breath. Take care. Om Shanti.